And then on the men's side, ATP Doha. Now there were some fantastic matches in Doha as well, and some very influential ones. Let's start off with Carlos Alcaraz and Karen Khachanov. Alcaraz lost that first set, went to a tiebreaker. Alcaraz loses it. He bounces back, does well against a very solid opponent in Karen Khachanov. You got to bring your B plus game, A minus game if you're Carlos Alcaraz to defeat Khachanov, and he brought that. He was able to get past him. He moves into the semifinals. Excellent work from Carlos. He just continues this year to find wins when he needs them. Then in one of the results of the week of the month. This is going to be one of those results that is going to be talked about for a while. I do not want to understate how big this was for Jakub Mensik, and not only for him, but how people are going to talk about him. There's been a constant talk on who is going to be the player that raises their level to an Alcaraz, to a Sinner level. And Mensik's one of those youngsters that a lot of people, he already has a Masters 1000 title. People are looking at him to see if he can take that jump and that step up. Kind of like Jack Draper did at the beginning of the season last year at this time, and a little bit later in the season as well. But this win for Jakub Mensik, showing that he can defeat Yannick Sinner on the hard courts at the in this match, this is going to propel a narrative of Mensik can do it. He can be maybe one of those players that can join in on that group, or at least not maybe join the Alcaraz Center because look, we are far away from that. But maybe he could be one of those challenging. And to me, this result alone propels him up the leaderboard uh, in that conversation of the player that can challenge Alcaraz and Sinner that's not named Novak Djokovic. And I feel like it's also important that he's a youngster and he still has so much room to progress. So this is a huge win for Jakub Mensik over Yannick Sinner. And then on Yannick Sinner's side of the story, tough start to the year for Yannick. It's got to be a little disappointing, but if you really take a step back and look at it in total, it's a loss to Novak Djokovic in a match that he just played clutch and Novak just found a way. And then Jakub Mensik a good player, man. So it's gonna be concerning for Yannick Sinner, but I don't think there's alarm bells or anything like that. I expect Sinner to bounce back strong from these results, but this does put a little bit of added pressure on Sinner to get some results in the hard court tournaments before we head to clay. Because he used to be the king of the hard courts, but now, Alcaraz winning the last two hard court majors, this loss to Jakub Mensik. The hard court king title you can't put it to Yannick Sinner anymore. It's at least a conversation, and it wasn't a conversation a couple months ago. So yeah. Then Andre Rublev over Stefanos Tsitsipas. This this is not surprising, I wouldn't say. Now, Tsitsipas, it's kind of been a one and done syndrome for him this year. He has one good result in a week, and then he falls off the next game, next match. He can't string results together really well. And Rublev, a player that, now that he's working with Safin now, he's appearing differently in his answers to the press and stuff. He seems I don't know if laid back is the right word, but it seems a little different. And maybe we're going to see a little bit of a renaissance for Andre Rublev this season. And maybe that aspect of it could help him as he gets a little older, a little wiser. Maybe that can help him this season. But a fantastic result for Rublev as he makes it to the semifinals of ATP Doha. Then, I would say a surprise, Arthur Fils over Uriel Hechka in straight sets. It appears as if Arthur Fils is back to a very competitive level. It's awesome to see Fils back at this level and back into a semifinal ATP Doha. As I mentioned before and previously, we talked about, especially after this result, people are going to be talking about Jakub Mensik. Can he take that step up to challenge Alcaraz in center, I think we have to look at Feast too. He's one of those players that has the raw tools and the talent to be able to challenge Alcaraz in center. They are nowhere near to join them in their group at the top yet, but Arthur Feast and Mensik are two very interesting young players to watch that can possibly challenge Sinner. So that leaves Alcaraz and Rublev as a semifinal, and Arthur Fils versus Jakub Mensik. And to preview these semifinals, first start with Alcaraz Rublev. They faced off 5 times. Alcaraz has 4 wins. Rublev only one, and Rublev's only win coming at ATP Madrid on outdoor clay. Surprisingly, that Rublev defeated Alcaraz on the clay in 2024. Besides that, they faced off twice in the ATP finals in 23 and 24, where Alcaraz got the wins there. They faced off in Wimbledon in the round of 16 in 2025, where Alcaraz won. And then in 2025, in the Cincinnati Masters, they also faced off in the quarterfinal. Definitely think Alcaraz is the favorite in this one. I find it hard to believe Alcaraz were to lose this one against Rublev, but Rublev maybe he's turned a new leaf. Maybe he's brought a different elements to his game this year that can maybe frustrate Alcaraz. We will see, but I'm definitely leaning Alcaraz in this one as Alcaraz tries to gain that King of the Hard Courts title. Then Jakub Mensik, Arthur Fils. This isn't surprising that they faced off twice and it's one apiece. It's interesting that they played once at the ATP Next Gen in 2024, where Fils defeated Mensik. Of course, there's the different scoring in that tournament. It's a little bit of a wild card, that tournament. And then last year, actually, in Mensik's run to the Miami Championship, he had to go through Arthur Fils in the quarterfinals. This one, Feast Mensik, we've mentioned before. These are the two youngsters that can maybe challenge. They're two very exciting players. Uh, they would be super impressive to see Mensik defeat Feast and then face off against a possible Alcaraz in the final. That would be a storyline in and of itself. Or maybe Feast can bring his level once again and make it to a final in ATP Doha. I feel like a couple weeks earlier than we might have expected it from Feast. I expect Feast to continue his rise up in the rankings, and I expect him for sure to be seated at the French Open.